welcome to Multiplicity-preneurs Moments with AliNICOLE WOW, she does it all, and the Multiplicity Moundbuilder, Joesph L Jones Jr. This production is a resource of www.multiplicitypreneurs.tumblr.com, and today we will be speaking about the biggest detriment of a one niche focus. So, Joesph, let's talk about this and be intentional about really heightening the awareness factor around this particular topic. So I know you're ready, right?
I am ready.
Great. Well, this is a very important topic to me. So I really want to start this conversation off with addressing what I call the big elephant in the room that has been overlooked when it comes to what the so-called gurus have been drilling in on this one niche focus. And as much as they've preached what seems to be a falsehood of that concept, they've never really addressed the reason why people desire to do several things. And that's something over the years that I've really been shining the light on, because the truth of the matter is, Joesph, is that we, as you know, we're designed in the image of our Creator, who also wired us or oriented us to be creative expressions. Therefore, we want to demonstrate our own ways of being a creator, because I strongly believe that an infinite intelligence did not create us to be limited to just doing one thing at a time, when we can be masterful at being high-level demonstrations. And I'm all about the demonstrations, but really being demonstrators of creative expression for not only making a huge impact in the world, but also for our income advantage. So, that old saying, if you try to be a jack or a drane of all trades, you'll become a master of none. Now, I can agree with that to a certain extent. However, what they fail to realize is that if you become a master of self and a master of your divinity, then you really can become what I would say to be the epitome of Luke 18:27. What's impossible for man is made possible with God. So to me, the journey of self-mastery and also spiritual mastery, this is what allows us to do multiple things. At least this has been my experience, and I know that this is true really for everyone. So honestly, it's been to the biggest detriment to the masses over the years to have bought into this sort of false gospel of a one niche focus. And honestly, you can see it. I mean, it's limited and paralyzed a lot of people over the years from moving forward. So, of course, to me, the one niche that people need to focus on is really leveraging their life experience as being a niche. And from there, as the powerful co-creators that we are, others can begin to embody that and start to multiply their efforts and maximize their gifts. So I really want to just set the segment up with this, because this has really been something over the years that's been extremely important to me, because it's not really been addressed by others. And I'm not necessarily knocking that, because I really felt it was mine to do, to shine the light on that. So I really want to hear your thoughts around either piggybacking off of what I said, or just your thoughts around the biggest detriment of the one niche focus.
Well, it's important to you because you come forth as a person that is born to express that idea in this time. Mm-hmm. The idea of multiplicity, the idea of doing more than one thing and bringing forth more of ourselves. We were born, shaped, and molded in multiplicity.
Yes.
Our human body is a vessel of multiplicity. Mm-hmm. So when we look at the term a jack of all trades and a master of none, that's not really true when we look at what that one is.
Exactly. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes. Mm-hmm.
The one is the power or the spirit or the presence or the God that exists within us. And once we begin to master this physical body, then we can master the environment and all the things that are around us. And that is multiplicity.
Absolutely.
Because there are numerous things and there's numerous expressions all around us. And so the first mastery and the first trade that we need to look at is this human body in this vessel. Going back to the Egyptian concept that was written on the temple walls, which is very simply know thyself. When you know who you are, then you know the world around you and you know the power that enlivens and animates your physical vessel. Yes. You're in line and aligned with that knowing. So with that, that's mastery, that's multiplicity. And when we talk about multiplicity and mastery and all of those things, we just look at the human vessel and we say that it's impossible for one vessel to bring forth all of these things. Well, you have to look beyond the vessel and look to the source, which is really the power behind the vessel, bringing forth and expressing in multiplicity all of the things that we're able to do in our business, in our relationships, in the way that we connect with the world.
Absolutely.
That's got to be our focus.
Exactly. And that right there has been for me over the years, the embodiment, and also, you know, for you as well, knowing that you have all of these different gifts and talents and just ways of being that come into play for you to make an impact and then also, like I said, an income as well. But yeah, it's been to the biggest detriment of that concept, and as well-meaning and intended as they've wanted it to be, it really honestly has been like a cancer to the anatomy of the entrepreneurial structures. Because, you know, within that, well, before I even go there, I actually want to go back to what you said about the human anatomy and the body and mastering that part first. It reminded me of in Psalms 139:14 that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And we have to look at the way that God created us and detailed and fashioned us in a certain way. And going back to what you said about the one, and yes, in focusing on the one and understanding within that oneness contains everything. And so when we are focused on the oneness and the one thing, and that's why I say, you know, your life should be your niche, because it's in the life force that we discover who we really are. That's what leads us on the journey of self-discovery, self-awareness, self-mastery, and then ultimately evolving our souls in a way to be the masters of our own divinity. So I find it interesting when there's the whole concept around self-development that's supposed to help people to quote unquote improve thyself, which is kind of an illusion too. You know, because it really is about unleashing and unlocking this higher potential, but not necessarily in a one-size-fits-all way. And that's why it becomes religious in a sense, to the point where the ritualistic aspects of practices drown out the truth of the principles, and we miss the whole thing. So yeah, if you become a master of self and know thyself, then if you know thyself, you're going to know all those different compartments and components and elements that make you who you are. Then that's when you can begin to examine those areas, extract what you need, and then bring forth the expressions. So I love what you said. Everything you said was so on point. I had my little amen corner going on over here, but but you can definitely see how the conditioning has been a huge detriment to the forward movement of people in business.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm also seeing how those businesses and those people are suffering right now as a result of that.
As a result of that, exactly. Yeah, and that's why it was so important to really talk about this and to bring a different level of awareness to the concepts that people have been being fed. I love how, of course, in several places in scripture, Jesus says, "Verily, verily, I say unto you, I know you've been told that it was this way, but I'm here to now set the record straight and say, this is what it is." And the thing about it is that the whole way of being with multiplicity, that has really been since the beginning of time, since the beginning of creation. And now people are having to catch up to that embodiment of an expression to come through them. But how did they get locked out of that, so to speak? It came through conditioning. And of course, I do get the concept, and I have over the years, of the focus on one thing. And then if you do ground and master that particular thing, then of course you can go on to do many things. But again, when there's not a fleshing out of what this really means, then even though part of that aspect or concept may have some truth to it, a few core elements, like I mentioned before, but then it ultimately becomes a complete falsehood when it can't be backed up with the next level of the component of communication that we're bringing forth today.
That's absolutely true. And I think the place where it is true of the focus on one thing until completion and then move to another thing, I think that, well, I know that that concept is very task oriented.
Right.
Meaning that if you're engaged in one task, then you stay consistent with that one task until that one task is completed. And then you move on to another task. But when we're talking about multiplicity, and we're talking about expression, and we're talking about gifts, abilities, and talents, that's something that you can express and you continue to express, and you continue to express it until the place where you get to that point of mastery. And then you up level it even more, and there's even more that you can express in that multiplicity. So it's the difference in understanding the task aspect of it, and then understanding the expression of multiplicity aspect of it as well. And where it has gotten confused is we have been conditioned, as you say, and programmed to just focus on task. And these tasks don't necessarily benefit us, nor do they bring forth our best and our highest expression.
I agree wholeheartedly. That could not have been stated better. I'm really happy you went there. Because like I said, this is very important, and we are in these times where the clarification, like I've known this for years and have been doing this and demonstrating this for years, and then you had your own experiences, and we've been working at this for quite some time. But to see how the downfall has happened, as you mentioned, with businesses and entrepreneurs, so to speak, they are experiencing the fallout, and even major corporations are experiencing the fallout because they stuck on kind of this one dimension of business innovation and didn't multiply their efforts in a way to have another division or different things set up that should something happen that causes things to shut down, they could already have had other things underway to have been taking things to the next level, and it would have been, no big deal. No one would be having the hardships that they've been having, but like I said, being in those conditions and those patterns. But I believe we have definitely done an excellent job of getting others to think and understand in different ways and how to look at this whole concept around multiplicity. And it really is a way of beingness, just through your living, and then how you apply that to business. So before we wrap up, did you want to speak to anything else just in terms of the entrepreneurial dynamics around definitely people continuing to make those shifts and start getting into this multiplicity expression? Or just
I'm sure that there's a number of people listening who have gotten caught up in the one niche wonder. and just focusing on doing that one thing at a time, and they're stuck in the loop of that one thing.
Yeah.
I guess the reminder would be is that now is the time for massive expression.
Absolutely.
Massive expansion and expression, because you have to expand so that you can express on a multiplicity of levels. So it's important now to make sure that we take that one niche concept and expand it into the different areas that we're talented in and gifted in to express these concepts.
Right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate, I love the way you expressed that. I knew you could speak to this with depth. And so I'm really grateful. Of course, I could go on and on about this particular area, but I loved what we were able to create in this segment together to definitely expand the awareness and heighten it in a way where people start to see things differently, and then they can start applying this to their life and their business. So I want to invite our listeners to definitely connect with Joesph and I on LinkedIn, and we'll have that information within the show descriptions, because if you really want to see demonstrations play out of what this looks like to be a multiplicity expression, then you definitely want to stay connected to us and follow us on the different platforms and venues that we have. And again, there'll be information about that in the show description. So this has been Multiplicity-preneurs Moments. And as you could tell, this was a very passionate subject that we wanted to bring forth, because we want to shift the dynamics so that the creative genius within others can come forth to make an impact and, of course, an income by fully utilizing your greatness. And as Joesph mentioned, for it to be expressed, the time of massive expression in so many ways. So thanks for joining us. And until our next moments together, we wish you well.